Hey, Adam,
Jeez,
one
why,
thing.
why do you think they call it bumpers, Gary?
I don't know.
Because they come at the beginning and at the end, like bumpers.
Alex, you're a marketing guy. Do you like that design behind Paul? Does that sweet logo thing look pretty cool to you?
Hey, I forgot to hit the record button.
Yeah, that's really professional, isn't it?
Well, this is a professional podcast.
I met her in a parking lot and was handed 2 little Yorkies. And the only person I knew that knew Yorkies was Paul. So I called Paul and said, Paul.
Sweet Talk is a weekly 20-minute podcast brought to you by the Continuing Education and Workforce Training Division of Idaho State University's College of Technology. Find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SoundCloud and subscribe today. Now it's time to get started with Sweet Talk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sweet Talk, Continuing Education and Workforce Training's weekly podcast. As you'll notice, Paul is out today. We have Shirley Hockett joining me to co-host. How are you doing, Shirley?
I'm fine.
I am fine as well. As you all know, some of you will be watching this on YouTube or SoundCloud. Today, we have some really special guests with us today. We have Don and Jane Streubel. They are retired educators. Jane was an educator through the school district, and Don retired from Idaho State University in the biology department. Welcome, both of you. Can you please introduce yourselves and give us a little bit of background on you?
Okay, Angie, it's good to be here, first of all. We're thrilled to be back in Pocatello. After retiring for 15 years, we left the community, and 4 years ago, we returned back to Pocatello. Now, it's just like coming home, if you know what I mean, seeing the beautiful nature, the wildlife, and the joys of the community people. We have become quite deeply involved in the Edson Fichter Nature Area, and it kind of furthers our love for education and learning and curiosity. And I feel at 83 years of age, it's good still to be curious about things. And Don is also involved.
Well, I'm Don Streubel, and I had the wonderful good fortune of being hired in the biology department at ISU while Edson Fichter was still in the department. And I got to know this very fine gentleman, and I looked up to him as just a wonderful mentor in many respects.
Now, and that's why you're here today. We met Jane just a few days ago, and she very kindly decided that you guys could jump on a podcast. She was informing us about the nature talks that happen at the Edson Fichter Nature Area. Can you guys tell us a bit more about these nature talks that happen?
Yes, Angie. It all started, we were returned and we find ourselves a half a mile from the Edson Fichter Nature Area. Let me give you a little background about the nature area. It was formed about 23 years ago. Idaho Fish and Game had the opportunity to purchase about 40 acres over a period of time, and we have now over about 42 acres. Now it includes a dog pond, a big fishing pond, which is about 3 acres, and on the west side is the Pocatello Greenway, so the Portneuf River and the Greenway. So that's just a viable place. And at the north end, we have a beautiful garden that Ardith. See, Edson and Ardith were a real team, a husband and wife team in nature. And the Seekers, a homemaking group that Ardith started and was very deeply involved, asked the Fish and Game if they could have a little plot of land to develop a garden that would represent Ardith and Edson's backyard. And Donna and I used to go over and visit Edson and Ardith and see their pollinators. In other words, all the different insects that lived there. And our first program this particular fall, tomorrow night, September 7th, is on the pollinators of the Portneuf. And that means monarchs. People are raising monarchs in their backyard. We have milkweeds in our garden at Edson Fichter Nature Area, and we have a pollinator's garden. This will all be shown tomorrow night with a leader, Paul Allen, who is a retired ER doctor and now extremely involved in the iNaturalists and the High Desert chapter of native plants. So we're thrilled about having people. I'll tell you more about it later.
Okay,
Yeah, Don?
if I could interject. I'd like to talk a little bit about Edson Fichter because the Fish and Game Department named this facility after him. And why did they do that? Well, Edson was hired at ISU back in 1949. And shortly after he arrived, he came with a PhD from the University of Nebraska. He was a wildlife biologist and a naturalist all the way. And Fish and Game needed to get data on the reproductive success of pronghorns, or a lot of people call them antelope. And Edson got some funding from Fish and Game to study that topic, the reproductive success of pronghorns. He did that study in the Pacimberi Valley. And after 6 years of doing it for Fish and Game, he was able to extend it for another 12 years, so a total of 18 years working on pronghorns. Not only that, Edson was a superb teacher at ISU and was very involved in the community. He gave a lot of talks on different nature topics and so on. And above all, he was a superb artist. He did a lot of pencil drawings of wildlife, and his artwork is still hanging on many walls. He donated a number of his prints to the Fish and Game Department to sell.
And also to the museum here on campus.
Museum on campus. And plus, he was a poet. So he had a lot of really fine skills and so on. And above all, he was a fine gentleman. He was wonderful with students. I was a new young faculty hired in 1974, and he kind of took me under his wing because we had similar research interests. And then I thought, wow, I came to the right place.
That's so nice hearing about him because many of us go out and we enjoy the Edson Fichter Nature Area. I know there's been little pictures of the otters that have people have seen out there.
Yes,
which has really drawn a lot of photographers and whatnot out that way. But there's, I personally, this is the most I've heard about Edson Fichter. So it's really, really nice hearing about that. For all of you listening, this episode will actually come out after the first nature talk, but there are other nature talks. They are on Thursdays in September from 6 to 7 p.m. And those include living with urban wildlife, the influence of the Bonneville flood on Pocatello geology, and the Portneuf River past present plans. Can you guys talk a little bit about what started these nature talks?
That's a great question, because Don and I were walking like we do every morning. I'm the lady that picks up all the garbage, the debris, the litter on the walkway.
This was shortly after we moved back.
And we walked and we saw this little natural theater, and we decided, wouldn't this be a great place to have some nature talks? And we looked at each other and said, yes, we need to do this. And so what we did, Don and I called some friends, the university, people in Fish and Game, people just around town. Could you meet? And so this is the beginning 3 years ago. And first of all, we gave the history of the nature area. And we have people from Fish and Game. And of course, Sarah and Nancy, their daughters, who are now living in Iowa and Wyoming, and they have been here to every first September meeting that we've had. So this is the third year. And so we're really excited, but it's only good because we have a great committee putting it all together.
And then what is the cost if somebody wanted to come to one of these nature talks?
Oh, it's absolutely free.
Oh,
Great,
that's
great.
fantastic.
The only thing is that you should consider, because to be honest, we've gone from 27 or 8 people to over 100. So there aren't bleacher rooms. There aren't seats for us.
Okay, we should say a little bit about the amphitheater.
Yeah,
It does have bleachers,
that Don built. Yeah, yeah,
along with a friend.
yeah. We all.
But anyway, a lot of people on a nice September evening, they can just sit on the grass. There's a lot of natural hill forming the amphitheater, and they bring their own lawn chairs and so on. So it's very informal.
Some people even bicycle there and bring their dog to listen. So you see just about everyone coming, and they're sitting all over. We have a pretty good microphone system. It could be better, the sound system, but it's adequate.
The other thing we should mention is these are outdoors, of course. In the event of rain on a Thursday night, Jane is able to make arrangements with Indian Hills School and the school district to use the Indian Hills School gymnasium for the talk.
Their multi-purpose room, it lends itself very well for it. Yeah.
So
And
in
it's
case
just
of
right
rain-
next door because the parking lot is
case of-
shared. Yeah,
In case of rain, we have signs up.
yeah.
Come to Indian Hills School.
We have quite a few volunteers that really help us put it together, so it works out well. But our concern is, again, just getting the word out. And we've had up to 150 people or 100 people for your interest. That made me think of the nature area itself has gone from a few thousand to 150,000 people they expect to go through the opening gate this year. That's incredible. You stop and think about it.
I think one of the beauty that I see in the nature area is when there's grandpa on a dock at the pond teaching his grandchildren how to fish.
Yes.
As a grandpa myself, I just appreciate that a lot.
Well, do they catch any fish?
Yeah.
Oh, fish and game, stock it.
Do they stock it?
And so they do. And not only that, but there's a lot of nature photographers that are there.
Yes.
We have eagles that come and fish over the pond
And osprey.
and osprey. And you mentioned earlier, Angie, the otters, that even made the newspaper a couple of years ago. They're hard to see.
Oh, there was a mink recorded last week, too,
Yeah.
on the deck of one of
And
the
of course,
piers.
walking along the river, you can occasionally see muskrats and even beaver.
Well, and lots of different birds or ducks.
The bird life
It's incredible.
We're obviously excited about it.
Yeah, the nature area is it's just a kind of a teaching school right there, right behind you, you might say.
And for those not familiar with Edson Fichter Nature Area, this is a nature area that's semi-adjacent to the Indian Hills Elementary School in Pocatello, Idaho. There's a river that runs right next to it. It is paved, so it is very, very accessible for people as well. And again, as Jane and Don have stated, there is fishing available. Is there still a little rope swing there for guys swimming here?
On the Portneuf River, that's part of the greenway, and that's awesome.
That's the swimming hole.
That's a swimming hole. But the other thing we didn't mention is the dog pond, and it is so used in the heat of the summer. You cannot believe the dogs that would go in. I even trained the one golden retrievers bringing the bottles back to me. When you see a bottle that's thrown in the grass, they'll go get the bottle and bring it back. Is that incredible?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of hunters in this community
Yes.
with hunting dogs, labs, pointers, etc. And they take their dogs to this little pond, which is just south of the main pond, and they can throw their ball out in the pond, and the dog
Whatever. Yeah.
will bring it. It's fun to watch.
For another thing, the dogs are supposed to be on a leash unless they're near that dog pond, which just makes it more, and it's a little bit separate. It's
The
accessible.
majority of people that walk there with their dogs do keep them on a leash.
Yeah, are very thoughtful. And we also have bicyclists. Yesterday, we had some weather that was marginal over the weekend, being Labor Day weekend. And you couldn't believe the number of kids that came out after school on their bikes or just coming to walk around the area, because 42 acres, that's quite a distance.
Or comment about the nature talks. When we did this for the first time 3 years ago, we had no idea what kind of interest there would be, but we were astounded. As Jane mentioned, there was a talk either first year or the second year on bird migration. 115 people came, which were
Yeah.
way more
Well, like,
dissipated.
I know with the NKA class, there is a wait list because the class has been limited to a certain amount, and there's a wait list.
It's going to be interesting, this living with urban wildlife. This is really a controversial issue here in Pocatello. We have many, many deer, all ages, the buck, the doe, the fawns, and you're just liable, as you are driving your vehicle down any of these roads, to have a deer pop up. And I worked at Artist's Garden this morning, and people were complaining, oh, the deer are eating all my flowers. And our garden, we have all the, to my knowledge, best of my knowledge, all the flowers that we planted are just the deer resist them. They will not have anything to do with it. So we don't have any around there, but there were 2 bucks about 20 feet from the garden, but didn't go to the garden, just for your interest. We also have a real concern with the turkeys. There are incredible amount of turkeys that have come into, and they, if you aren't aware of it, they do have 2 families, 2 broods every year. So you can have a multiplication there of 10, 15, 20 new turkeys every year. So they are a concern. So it's going to be you're probably wondering, how do we decide on these programs? At the end of the year, we put out a kind of a survey to determine what the people want to listen to. And the top one was living with urban wildlife. Interesting.
Well, at least it's not Jurassic Park
You
wild.
got it. You got it. Good point,
Shirley's
Cheryl.
pretty good with
Well,
the seniors.
Truly, I wish it was. Just think of what we could learn from.
That is true.
And then the second one, the 21st, that the people will be hearing will be Dr. Paul Link, emeritus from the School of Geology or the Geosciences. We'll talk about the whole history, how it all came about, the Bonneville flood, on the impact on our geology here.
Well, we're actually surprisingly running out of time. I told Jane this would go really quickly, and it's gone by extremely quickly. Jane and Don, can you take a minute to tell people how they can reach out if they would like to volunteer for Edson Fichter, or if they can just show up for any of these nature talks, if they're interested in getting more involved? How would someone go about doing that?
Well, first of all, it's open and free to the public. It's just like walking in any other park in Pocatello, but this is a nature area. And it's a wonderful place to come and just enjoy nature, whether you sit on a bench and just listen to the birds around you, etc. If they want to get involved, I would suggest
I would immediately contact Fish and Game. They have a volunteer coordinator there. If you wanted to get involved at all with, that would be my first choice. And the second one, if you have a problem there, you can contact me, Jane Streubel, at 208-221-1140. And I could, or text me at that number, 208-221-1140. But, we're a community that works together to lift everyone up. And I find a great peace of mind being at our age, 83, of enjoying nature and being in the somewhat of a wilderness area.
Our lives are, they're very busy, even in retirement. And just to go down there and sit on a bench and listen to nature, to watch nature, is a wonderful experience.
And to think at any time an eagle could fly over an osprey.
Yeah.
And an osprey is a very good fishing bird. You cannot believe it.
Yep. So Don and Shane, thank you again for being on. Again, Don and Shane are retired educators. They are also avid volunteers with the Edson Fichter Nature Area and helped establish the nature talks that happen every Thursday in September from 6 to 7 p.m. You're welcome to just show up and join them for any of these talks. After this airs, there should still be a few more that you can pick up. And again, thank you, Shirley, for co-hosting with me. If you would like to reach us at Continuing Education, you can do so at 208-282-3372. Shirley, if someone's wanting to join NKA and get some of these nature classes in, how would they do so?
Well, they can call the office, or they can go on to cetrain.isu.edu and search for FFL, New Knowledge Adventures. I'm sorry, the Idaho Falls mixed in there. New Knowledge Adventures, and register online, or they can call the office and the staff can help them get registered. I know this particular talk the class is full with the wait list, so I don't know if there might be a second class in the workings, but they can call the office and find out if the classes are still available.
Well, thank you, everybody. If you like content like this, please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. And until next week, be safe out there.